From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day, this is Dateline Malacañang, and here are the news. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Wednesday led a ceremonial payout of financial benefits for senior citizens aged 80, 85, 90, 95, and 100 years old. Republic Act RA number 11982, also known as the Expanded Centenarians Act, was signed into law by Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on February 26, 2024. The law expands the coverage of the Centenarians Act of 2016 to include all Filipinos, whether residing in the Philippines or abroad. Under RA 11982, individuals who reach the age of 80 and every 5 years thereafter until the age of 95 are eligible to receive a cash gift worth 10,000 pesos, while centenarians maintain their 100,000 pesos benefit. Let us listen to the speech of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. during the event.
Isang napakahalaga at espesyal ang pagtitipon ng araw na ito para sa ating mga senior citizen. Nakalagay sa speech ating mga kapwa senior citizen, di ko na binasa. Na ikanulugod ko, makasama ko kayo ngayon. Marami po sa inyo ang naipanganak na o di naman kaya ay nasaksihan ang mga ilang mahalagang yugto ng kasaysayan ng ating bansa. Kasama natin ngayon araw si Nanay Generosa, Nanay Brigida at Nanay Hiwaga na tumutuntong po sa edad na 100 taon. Pinanganak sila noong panahon na tayo ay nasa ilalim pa ng Amerikano. Hinarap nila ang mga hamon ng kawalan na kalayaan, kinabukasan o seguridad. May tuturin din natin sila mga survivor ng ikalawang digmaang pandaigdig. Dahil hindi lamang nila ito pinagdaanan, matagumpay po sila na nalagpasan. Marami rin po sa inyo ang ipinanganak at lumaki habang ang bansa natin ay unti-unting naghihilom mula sa sugat ng dulot ng digmaan. Naging saksi kayo sa tagumpay at pagsisikap ng maraming administrasyon na paunlarin ang ating bayan. Kaya, ang bawat linya sa inyong balat at bawat puting buhok ay bahagi ng hibla na naghahabi ng ating kasaysayan. Mga kababayan, tayo po ay narito ngayon upang magbigay pugay sa ating mga nakakatanda. Ngayon, ang bilis na ng pagbabagong dulot ng teknolohiya at lahat ng nagmamadaling makasabay sa agos ng panahon, huwag po nating makakalimutan ang ating mga nakatatanda. Ipadama natin ang ating pagmamahal at ipakita na ipinagmamalaki natin sila dahil sa kanilang mga naibahagi sa ating lipunan. Noong nakaraang taon, nilagdaan ko po ng inyong lingkod ang Republic Act number 11982 o yung Expanded Centenarians Act of 2024. Sa ilalim ng batas na ito, ang mga senior citizens na umabot ng 80 years old, 85 years old, 90 years old at 95 years old ay makakatanggap ng 10,000 piso at tuloy pa rin ang handog ng pamahalaan na 100,000 piso para sa ating centenarians o yung mga umabot sa 100 taon. Kaya sa araw na ito ay ipamahagi natin ang halagang ito sa ating mga nakakatanda sa atin, hindi lang po rito sa Metro Manila kundi sa buong bansa. Pasimula lamang po ito dahil patuloy po ang pagpapatupad ng batas na ito. Ang hiling ko lang sa ating National Commission of Senior Citizens or NCSC, i-check ninyo ng maigi dahil ito, ewan ko sa mga nakikita ko rito sa harapan ko ngayon, di naman yata qualified itong mga ito dahil masyadong bata ang mga itsura ninyo. Kaya bantayan po ninyo na mabuti na hindi tayo nagkakamali. Ha? Tulad na rin po kayo, baka magalit sa akin, pero si Executive Secretary Chief Luke at saka si Manong Johnny Enrile. Batid ko po na marami pang kailangan gawin, hindi lamang ang pamahalaan, kundi ang buong lipunan upang mas gawing siguro, ligtas at maginhawa ang kalagayan ng ating mga nakatatanda. 73% ng ating mga senior citizen ay umaasa pa rin sa suporta ng mga anak at 55% ng kanilang gastusin sa kalusugan ay binabayaran mula sa sariling bulsa. Ilan din ang nakakaranas ng kakulangan sa pangmatagalan pangangalaga. Marami ang nag-iisa sa bahay. May iba na pakiramdam nila, na ang pakiramdam nila ay wala na silang halaga sa pamilya at lipunan. Huwag niyo pong isipin yun. Mas malungkot, marami sa kanila ang nakaranas ng abuso pa. Sa bagong Pilipinas, hangad natin na mabuhay ng may ginhawa at dignidad ang ating mga matatanda. Mga kababayan, hindi na dapat pinagdadaanan ng ating mga senior citizen ang ganitong mga problema sa yugtong ito sa kanilang buhay. They deserve nothing less than our love, our care, our protection, our respect, and our honor. Kaya gumagawa tayo ng mga hakbangin upang mas mapapabuti ang kalagayan ng ating mga senior citizen. Sa ilalim ng Expanded Senior Citizens Act, ang mga senior citizens ay may karapatang makakuha ng 5 o 20% discount sa iba't ibang bagay sa serbisyo. Kasama sa 5% senior discount ang tubig at kuryente kung hindi hihigit sa 30 cubic meters na tubig o 100 kilowatt hours ng kuryente ang konsumo. Makakakuha naman ng 20% discount ang ating senior citizens sa transportasyon, sa gamot, sa serbisyong pangkalusugan at maging sa paglilibang. Ang gamot po, marami na po tayong tinanggal at hindi na binaba natin yung presyuhan upang makaya namang maabot ng ating mga senior citizen. Ang batas din na ito ay nagbibigay ng libreng pangangalaga sa kalusugan ng ating mga seniors sa mga government health facilities at iba pa. Mayroon din tayong social pension for indigent senior citizens na kung saan nakakatanggap ang mga qualified senior citizens na 1,000 piso bawat na buwanang pensyon. May mga residential care facilities na pinamamahalaan ng DSWD para sa edad ng 60 at pataas upang maalagaan ang mga iniwan at napabayaang senior citizen. Bukod pa rito, ang NCSC ay patuloy na nagbibigay ng mga programa at serbisyo na tumutugon sa pangangailangan ng ating mga nakakatandang mamamayan. Naway, sa pamamagitan ng mga programang ito, at serbisyong ito ng gobyerno, makapaglaan sila ng mas marami pang panahon para sa kanilang mga minamahal sa buhay. Naniniwala ako na ang kinakatawan ng ating mga nakakatanda ay pagiging isang bagong Pilipinas na may disiplina, kahusayan at pagmamahal sa bansa. Narito tayo ngayon dahil ipinapakita natin ang mga katangiang ito na nagdala sa kanila sa kasalukuyan. Sa mga pamilya ng mga ating mga nakatatanda, ipagdiwang ninyo ang bawat sandali na kapiling sila. Ipakita ninyo ang malasakit dahil darating ang panahon na kayo din ang maghahanap ng respeto at kalinga mula sa anyong anak o apo. Para sa ating mga kabataan, kayo ang mag-aaruga sa magpapatuloy na kaalamang itinuturo ng mga nauna sa atin. Gamitin ninyo ito upang makapagbuo ng mas maliwanag na kinabukasan. Sa ating mga senior, naway magkaroon kayo ng marami pang panahon na kagalakan kasama ang inyong mga minamahal sa buhay. Hiling ko rin na magkaroon po kayo ng mas matatamis na kwento na ibabahagi sa susunod na henerasyon. Sapagkat sa huli, ang ating mga senior ang nagdala ng liwanag sa ating mga tahanan. Ang mga senior ang nagbigay ng gabay sa taong bayan patungo sa tagumpay ng ating inaabot dito na bagong Pilipinas.
You just heard Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang welcomed the exemption of United States or U.S. security assistance to the Philippines from its global foreign aid freeze, saying it would significantly boost the country's defense modernization efforts. In a press briefing, Presidential Communications Officer PCO Undersecretary and Palace Press Officer Claire Castro expressed the government's gratitude for the support from the U.S., acknowledging the importance of the exemption in light of the 90-day foreign aid freeze announced by President Donald Trump. The palace official also noted that the U.S. support reflects the long-standing cooperation between the two nations. She added that the aid would play a crucial role in the modernization of the Armed Forces of the Philippines or AFP. Last year, former U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin III and State Secretary Antony Blinken announced the grant of assistance worth $500 million for the modernization of the AFP and the Philippine Coast Guard.
Of course, natutuwa po tayo, nagkaroon nga po ng direktiba si US President Trump na 90 days magkakaroon ng i-freeze ang foreign aid. So kung nagkaroon po tayo ng exemption at nagkaroon po tayo at ibibigay po at i-release ang $500 million foreign Filipino financing sa atin, ito po ay napakalaking bagay at nagpapasalamat po tayo sa suporta na yan. Tandaan po natin, ito pa ay mula sa pamahalaan po ni dating Pangulo na US President Biden at ito pa rin po ay pinagtibay din po sa panahon po ni President Donald Trump. So masarap po na makatanggap ng ganitong good news at ang suporta po ng US sa atin ay hindi po mapapasubali. Of course, hindi natin to isasabalang baliwala. Napaka-importante po ng AFP modernization. But of course, with the additional help, mas malaki pong bagay ang maitutulong ito.
Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang defended Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s decision not to declare February 25, the anniversary of the EDSA People Power Revolution, as a non-working holiday, emphasizing that there was no intention to erase the uprising's memories or diminish its significance. In a press briefing, Presidential Communications Officer PCO Undersecretary and Palace Press Officer Claire Castro denied that the administration is trying to revise history. She pointed out that February 25 was designated a special working day and that the administration had not prohibited any activities related to the commemoration. Castro also rejected claims that the move is an attempt to erase the memory of the EDSA People Power. Castro also emphasized that universities were free to suspend classes for the day if they choose to observe the occasion in their own way.
Now, February 25 is declared a special working day, and I think it is the prerogative of the President. And when we say special working day, still, there is encouragement to people to commemorate, to join any event, and it will not hinder any activity to commemorate the EDSA People Power. Again, yan na naman ay kanilang mga opinion sa mga balak na tumuligsa sa Pangulo at sa pamahalaan. Unang-una, isipin po natin, mayroon po bang pinahinto ang Pangulo na anumang activity na patungkol dito sa commemoration ng EDSA People? Since the time po na siya ay naging Pangulo, wala po tayong nadinig na anumang pagpapahinto ng anumang events, any activities na maaaring mag-commemorate ng nasabing event. And at the same time, pansinin po natin paano po mabubura ang history. History is history. So hindi po kakayanin po lang ng presidente na ito ay mabura sa ating history. They are given the freedom to do that. Kaya po hindi natin sinasabing ang Pangulo ay humahadlang sa anumang balaki ng anumang organisasyon, universidad, sa kanilang mga gagawing activities. So kung balak po nila talaga na sila ay walang klase, it's up to them. Free po sila to do that.
Philippine Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
In the meantime, Malacañang said the administration of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. is doing everything to accelerate the infrastructure development in the country. While the government is facing several challenges in implementing some of its infrastructure projects, Palace Press Officer and Presidential Communications Office or PCO Undersecretary Claire Castro said it would double its efforts to address the gaps in the country's transport systems.
Well, in general, ang gobyerno ay hindi naman kikilos ng kulang-kulang. May mga pagkakataon siguro, may mga factors na may nadidelay, but definitely we will do our best para gampanan lahat ang ating trabaho at kung ano ang naipangako natin sa taong bayan.
The statement came after the Philippine Institute of Development Studies, or PIDS, reported that the Philippines is still lagging behind its Southeast Asian neighbors when it comes to improving the transport infrastructure. Based on the findings of the PIDS study released on Monday, the Philippines continues to fall behind its Southeast Asian neighbors in transport infrastructure development. The study, titled Transport Infrastructure in the Philippines from Plans to Actual Allocation, revealed significant gaps in the country's transport systems, particularly in railways, ports, and airport efficiency compared to the well-developed networks of other nations in the region. The study, however, acknowledged the government's efforts to prioritize infrastructure development across various Philippine Development Plans 2023 to 2028. It also noted that the Philippines has the highest number of ports in the region, attributed to its archipelagic geography. The PIDS said strategic investments and comprehensive planning will be essential in shaping the country's growth and regional standing as it addresses the infrastructure gap. In a Palace press briefing on February 21st, newly installed Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon stressed the need to update the master plan for transport infrastructure development and expand the government's partnership with the private sector to make transport systems efficient. Dizon's statement came after President Marcos had instructed him to fast-track the implementation of the ongoing transportation infrastructure projects as well as those that are already in the pipeline. The President's directive to Dizon is to put a premium on key infrastructure projects, including the Metro Manila subway, development of regional airports, and expansion of port system, particularly the agricultural ports.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. is pushing for a centralized fiber optic cable network in Metro Manila and refinements to the Department of Water Resources, or DRW bill. This after the President presided over the sectoral meetings on the executive version of the DWR and the Metro Manila Smart City Infrastructure for Network Resilience Project at Malacañang Palace in Manila. President Marcos gave the directive as the National Economic and Development Authority, or NEDA, urged him to certify the measure as urgent, according to a photo released by the Presidential News Desk. The NEDA is pushing for the passage of the DWR bill to address the issues surrounding the country's water resources. In another sectoral meeting with the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, or MMDA, and concerned government agencies, President Marcos discussed the plan to centralize the fiber optic cable network in Metro Manila. In a statement, the Presidential Communications Office, or PCO, said the proposal would result in better traffic flow and faster action during disasters. The PCO said through a centralized fiber optic network, Metro Manila's 17 local government units will be connected to the MMDA and Department of Information and Communications Technology or DICT for improved accident response, traffic management, and real-time flood level monitoring. The PCO added that the plan to improve the fiber optic network is a major step towards a modern Metro Manila under the new Philippines.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. expressed optimism about the continued growth of the Philippine semiconductor industry, citing the increasing availability of skilled Filipino workers capable of filling roles in chip manufacturing and integrated circuit or IC design. The president issued a confidence-boosting remark in a meeting with executives from Amcor Technology Incorporated, led by Chief Operating Officer Kevin Engel in Malacañang Palace. The discussions highlighted Amcor's pivotal role in furthering the development of the country's semiconductor sector. President Marcos said Amcor's involvement in the Philippines is something that the country would like to encourage as the administration is trying to move the semiconductor industry up the value chain from pure fabrication to design. Amcor Technology Philippines Incorporated, which has been operating since 1989 and registered with the Philippine Economic Zone Authority or PEZA in December 1995, specializes in manufacturing semiconductor devices. Amcor plans to relocate some of its manufacturing operations from China to the Philippines, further cementing the country's role as a critical hub for semiconductor production. The semiconductor sector remains one of the largest contributors to the country's electronics industry, accounting for nearly 40% of total exports in 2024, valued at $29.16 billion. The Philippines hosts several prominent semiconductor and electronics companies including Panasonic Murata, Sumitomo Electric, Samsung, Brother, Canon, Toshiba, and Epson.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other news, the Japan International Corporation of Welfare Services or JICWELS and the Philippines Department of Migrant Workers or DMW have opened the recruitment for candidate nurses and certified care workers under the Japan-Philippines Economic Partnership Agreement. In a news release, the Japanese Embassy in Manila said the JICWELS and the DMW are accepting applications for 50 nurse kangoshi positions and 300 care worker kaigo fukushishi positions. Accepted candidates will undergo Japanese language training for 6 months in the Philippines and 6 months in Japan. The training, which is free of charge, must be completed before their 3 to 4 years of work term at Japanese hospitals and caregiving facilities. Candidates will be provided with a daily living allowance for the duration of the language training. They are encouraged to obtain the Japanese license for kangoshi and kaigo fukushishi to get an opportunity for a longer employment term in Japan. In December 2024, local media reported that Tokyo's Health, Labor, and Welfare Ministry will actively promote the recruitment of nurses and care workers from Southeast Asia starting in 2025, as more elderly people are expected to need care amid Japan's increasingly aging society. About 1 in every 5 Japanese will be 75 years old and above in 2025. In 2024, about 2.15 million nursing care workers were in Japan, but there will be an estimated shortage of about 250,000 workers in 2026 and about 570,000 in 2040. Interested applicants may refer to the announcements of the DMW on its website and social media accounts and may submit their applications online on or before April 4th.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine Department of Migrant Workers, or DMW, is set to host a one-day forum together with the International Labor Organization, or ILO, that focuses on strengthening the protection of overseas Filipino workers, or OFWs, against abuse, harassment, and violence. In a news release, Migrant Workers Secretary Hans Leo Kakdak said the forum will be held during the two-day mission visit to the Philippines by ILO Assistant Director General for Governance, Rights and Dialogue, Manuel Tomi, on February 26 to 27. The forum will focus on the ILO Domestic Workers Convention 189 and the Violence and Harassment Convention 190. Kakdak said the forum would help access the DMW's compliance with the convention while reinforcing the department's commitment to a rights-based approach to protecting OFWs and their families. The DMW secretary said the ILO conventions are landmark instruments that promote the protection of the dignity and safety of all workers, particularly domestic workers who are vulnerable to abuse. The Philippines has ratified 39 ILO conventions, including Conventions 189 and 190, both of which remain in force. Government agencies and key stakeholders will participate in the forum to review how these conventions are being implemented worldwide. It would also highlight best practices, including the Philippines' approach to upholding labor rights.
Dateline Malacañang.
The OFW hospital is set to reach more people as it expands services beyond overseas Filipino workers, or OFWs. The Department of Migrant Workers, or DMW, on Tuesday signed a Memorandum of Agreement with the Department of Health, or DOH, 3, Central Luzon, Jose B. Lingad Memorial General Hospital, or JBL-MGH, and the Provincial Government of Pampanga, allowing a wider reach for medical care to Pampanga residents and the general public. Migrant Workers Secretary Hans Leo Kakdak and Pampanga Vice Governor Lilia Pineda led the signing during the DMW Bagong Pilipinas OFW Caravan at the Bren Z. Giao Sports Complex and Convention Center in San Fernando. While the hospital was initially established exclusively for OFWs and their families, the new MOA introduces a 60-40 patient ratio, ensuring that 60% of patients are OFWs and their dependents, while 40% are non-OFW residents of Pampanga who need medical care. Under the agreement, Pampanga's provincial government will deploy medical specialists to the hospital, while JBL-MGH doctors will conduct regular consultations. The DOH will also fund infrastructure improvements through its Health Facilities Enhancement Program. Pineda meanwhile thanked the DMW and its partner agencies for bringing essential healthcare services to its residents in the province. Since its establishment in 2022, the OFW hospital has served more than 86,000 patients, providing services ranging from consultations and laboratory tests to specialized medical treatments. The OFW Hospitals is a flagship program initiated by the late DMW Secretary Susan Toots Ople, aiming to make healthcare services accessible to OFWs and their families. In December 2024, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. led the groundbreaking of the Bagong Pilipinas OFW Hospital Cancer Care Center in response to the rising cases of cancer in the country. Meanwhile, Kakdak reassured OFWs that the hospital remains dedicated to their needs, regardless of how long they have been back in the country.
Dateline Malacañang.
A security guard of the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, or OWA, assigned inside the Department of Migrant Workers, or DMW, in Mandaluyong City was arrested in an entrapment operation for illegally offering expedited government services in exchange for money. The DMW said in a news release that the suspect offered to fast-track a pre-departure orientation seminar or PDOS appointment and certificate in exchange for 35,000 pesos per applicant. PDOS is a free mandatory requirement for first-time overseas Filipino workers or OFWs. The DMW said a suspect was apprehended by the Migrant Workers Operation Bureau or MWPB of the DMW in coordination with the Mandaluyong City Police to direct hire OFWs from Calaca, Batangas, who secured jobs as domestic workers for a royal family in Bahrain, reported the suspect. They were inquiring about the PDOS process at the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration office on the second floor when the suspect approached them. There, Villa Garcia allegedly approached them and offered to arrange a faster PDOS appointment for a fee. Doubting his offer, the victims took Villa Garcia's contact number and verified with the DMW Information Center, where they learned that PDOS is completely free. Villa Garcia is facing fixing charges under Section 21H of Republic Act 11032 or the Ease of Doing Business and Efficient Government Service Delivery Act of 2018 as well as for estafa. The MW Secretary Hans Leo Cacdac has ordered a thorough investigation to determine if Villa Garcia had accomplices. He also reminded all OFWs to transact only with DMW employees for verified information on DMW processes and requirements. The public is encouraged to visit the official DMW website, dmw.gov.ph, or call the 24/7 DMW hotline 02-8722-1144 or 8722-1155.
Dateline Malacañang.
Finally, for Dateline Malacañang, Sweden has awarded the Department of Transportation or DOTR a SEK 3 million, around 16.35 million Philippine peso grant for the continuation of the EDSA Bus Rapid Transit or BRT project feasibility study. The grant agreement was signed Tuesday by DOTR Undersecretary for Road Transport and Infrastructure Jesus Ortega, DOTR Planning and Project Development Director Felicissimo Pangilinan, Swedish State Secretary for International Development Cooperation and Foreign Trade Diana Jans, and Swedfund Project Accelerator Acting Director Anna Algevic at the DOTR office in San Juan City. Ortega said a grant would extend the EDSA busway feasibility study for another year. In addition to the grant, he said Sweden would provide technical assistance such as detailed engineering designs, advice on a planned public-private partnership or PPP for the EDSA busway, and use of sustainable energy, capacity building, and training for DOTR. Meanwhile, Jan said Sweden has committed to supporting the Philippines' sustainable development goals. Algevic said a new grant is a continuation of Sweden's support to the EDSA busway development, with previous grants amounting to around SEK 10 million or 54.5 million pesos since 2018. The grant is a project of Swedfund, Sweden's development finance institution, that aims to contribute to poverty reduction through sustainable investments in developing countries, and Team Sweden. Team Sweden is composed of the Embassy of Sweden in the Philippines, Business Sweden, and Swedish companies that are involved in other areas of the transport sector, such as rail and aviation.
Dateline Malacañang.
And that is all for today's Dateline Malacañang for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. This has been Bea Gaza-de Guzman.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.